This excerpt was taken from a Full and Bloom interview with vocalist Terry Glaze. More info at fullandbloom.com. From the album Metal Magic to Projects and the jump in quality of songwriting and sound, I mean, I really liken it to almost a Metallica Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning, where you're like, holy shit, how did that even happen?
I think it's like I said, it was just we were growing and figuring it out and playing the songs live. You know, we never wanted to be the biggest band in Arlington, Texas. We just thought, well, we want to be the next Van Halen, or, you know, there's going to be somebody's going to be the next one. Why not us? We never had small visions of just being a big fish in a little pond. We wanted to be it and didn't have any reason to think we couldn't. That was the mindset, I guess.
And then your voice also changed so much from that record to the next, as far as the hype.
And also influences of different music. You know, I'm sure that I probably discovered Motley Crue by that time, you know, or something like that, because they were such a huge influence at that time. When Pantera got together, we were listening to like the first Def Leppard album and April Wine and stuff like that. And we put our record out, and it's got a lot of that Def Leppard to it. And then the second record sounds like Motley Crue, and we started doing Iron Maiden and all kinds of stuff. But by the third album, I Am the Night, Daryl had become friends with James Hetfield and Lars from Metallica. And you can just hear the influence all over the record that the band was getting heavier and heavier. So when we're driving the gigs, the music in the Suburban is Metallica. We went and saw them live. Daryl used to hang out with them. Pantera was getting heavier and heavier. It was just a logical kind of a growth of the band.
Of course, I was too young to see you guys in the clubs yet. Once Phil came in, I mean, then I became of age and I could go. I saw them countless times in all the clubs. But before that, I didn't really see. But I remember being absolutely shocked because I had the first two albums and I knew them very well. And then I went to go see you guys. And I mean, it was almost all covers. And I'm sure it was because you guys were playing clubs. But I remember being shocked that there were so many covers in the set. I went there thinking it was going to be like the first two records that you guys would play.
We were one of the first bands in Texas at that time that were getting away with playing originals. And the way I remember it anyway is we played 3 sets a night or more. But usually the first set we would play like what was ever popular on the radio, a little Ozzy and Kiss and whatever. And then we'd come out for a second set and do all originals. We had fire and lights and it was an awesome show. And then we'd come back on third set and play all our heavy stuff, whether it's Judas Priest or Iron Maiden, UFO, Metallica and all that stuff. And so early on, by the second record, we were able to start pulling this off. And so, like I said, we were one of the only bands that was able to pull off playing an all original set. After I left, they started getting bands that would, open for them, and they were playing even less.
With Projects, do you guys actually go in, or are you just recording kind of the whole time in your off time, or do you actually go in and kind of set out to record projects in the jungle?
No, because of their dad's, job there, we would just go in whenever there was an open slot, take advantage of free time in the studio, cutting songs, and then before you know it, we have enough, and hey, let's put out another record.
So he recorded all those songs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was there at the helm. He was kind of like Danny Brown for Lord Tracy. He was there. It was a big part of it.
Well, I saw in Rex's book where, how Rex was all pissed off that he got a chunk of the publishing, it was like 4 albums into their major label, 4 or 5 or something, where Rex was wanting to stop that.
All I know is he invested in Pantera from day one and never took any money from it. So, I mean, I can see both sides of it, but I believe that without their father's investment in time and money and all of his experience, it would have been much harder for Pantera to be as successful as they were.
Right.
Their dad took care of the band.
He financed even the albums, right?
Everything. Got us a truck, got us a trailer, got the gear, came and ran sound until we could afford to start hiring sound guys. He took care of everything.
You had said in that first interview where, I'd asked something about how much were you making, at that time, and you kind of laughed it off like, right. You were surviving off of Pantera at that time, right?
Yeah. We're making $150 a week, and everybody's getting a check, and we're all living at home with our parents. We weren't even thinking about anything other than doing this and doing this and doing this. I don't ever remember even worried about money.
And so even at the height of...
Yeah, it was only later down the road that you start to think, wait a second, where'd all that money go?
Right. Well, you sold a lot of records. I told you I talked to Vinny one night at a club, and he was like, oh, yeah, the 3 albums had sold like, I think, 80,000 copies collectively or something. And you just think, man, that's a lot of money, especially when it's your own record.
Money wasn't the reason I left the band.
And it also wasn't the fact that they were going heavier and you didn't necessarily want to go that direction?
No, I mean, it wasn't my favorite thing, but I thought we were really good at it. That wasn't the reason. It was just disagreements of how to deal with each other, and I just chose not to continue on with that. It wasn't music. It wasn't a creative difference. You know, it wasn't money. So
if they would have stayed the course as far as stayed more of what, say, Projects in the Jungle was, would that have kept you in the band?
No, I don't think so. It's just personal relationships, that kind of stuff. It wasn't the music. But I'll just say this, what they eventually turned into, just incredible. I'm a big fan of what they did with Phil. I just thought it was incredible.
Sure. And obviously there was some friction for years, though, after you left, right? On Power Metal, they put out did you ever hear the Pussy Tight song?
Sure, I'm aware of what they're doing, but I got to tell you, I was busy. I've heard all these things after the fact. I've heard some stories and everything, but I really wasn't paying attention to what other people were doing. Like I said, I got Lord Tracy going within about a week, and I got a record deal before them. And, so at that time, my motivation had nothing to do with them. It was great. We were both out doing it, both out saw each other out on tour at the same time. They were just fortunate enough to have lasting power. I loved my band, and I wouldn't change a thing. The only thing I regret is that mine didn't get to continue going on as long as theirs. They also were fortunate enough to be on a label. Like I said, I was unfortunate that it went the way it did with our business part.
Well, it's still shocking that you didn't even get to put out a second record.
I was part of that. I wanted out because I felt like maybe we could do better with someone else. And then once we got out of our deal, we weren't fortunate enough to be able to get a deal with anyone else.
Oh, really? So you got them to drop you?
Yes.
So they would have released another record?
I have no idea. I was not willing to, in my opinion, throw another one away or waste another one. I felt like we had some great tunes and we were ready to do an album. So it was just a lot of upheaval at the label, and we didn't really have anybody. No one was there that had signed us, and so nobody really was fighting for us. So that was just, probably a mistake again. Not a lot of good business decisions with that project.
So you quit the band with really nothing there other than knowing that you're going to put together another band. But Lord Tracy's definitely not in the picture at all once you leave Pantera.
No, I just had an idea. I think I know what I want to do. And so my only really thought was put a band together. Who's the best bass player I can think of? I'll call Kenley Wolf. And before I can call them, they call me, and we go to Memphis, and the band, it's there. It just kind of fell in my lap. I've always been really lucky like that, kind of like a golden horseshoe up my ass or something like that. I've always been really fortunate.